Hi, I'm Dr. Andrew Chappell. I'm the head coach at ProPrepCoaching, and I'm here to talk about a high performance approach to bodybuilding. So, as well as being a head coach at ProPrepCoaching, I'm also a published researcher in the field of natural bodybuilding. I've had athletes in my lab where I've taken blood samples, I've put them on machines like this one here where I've measured their VO2 max, I've done wingate tests with them, and we've published results on them and what happens physiologically when people get ready for contest prep. So much of the things that I'm going to talk about today are things which I've applied myself with athletes in the lab, but also my experience working in high performance sport and working with bodybuilding populations as well. I have a bachelor's degree in sport and exercise science as well. I also have an MSc in human nutrition, and my PhD is in human nutrition as well. So a number of you who are watching this video will be wondering to yourself, or you may have a few questions as to what is a high performance approach to sport. And I would ask you just to pause the video right now and to maybe have a little think about some of these questions and think about what makes elite athletes special. Do you approach your own sport like an athlete, or are you a bit of a weekend warrior? And what actually is an athlete? What do we mean by an athlete? What is it that athletes actually do? So have a little think about those things, maybe take some notes, and then by the time we get to the end of this presentation, you can maybe make a little comparison between what I've been saying and what you've maybe potentially written down on here. So that's a little bit of an overview. Okay, so as I said, I am a published researcher in the field of bodybuilding. I'm the head coach at ProPrepCoaching, and I absolutely love bodybuilding. I live and breathe it. This is me here at the NABA universe with my partner, Steph Noble. She's a pro bodybuilder like myself. We run ProPrepCoaching together, and all of the strategies that we utilize with our own athletes to get them in shape are all evidence-based approaches that we take. Here's a recent paper that I published on the subject of bodybuilding and competition, so you can go and check that out. And then here is a whole host of athletes that I've worked with over the last year, getting them ready for different competitions as well. This is a great photo here of 7 of our athletes taking part in the WNBF World Championships, and you can see a couple of really proud coaches here over on the other side. So if at any point you find this information useful, then please do get in touch if you think that we can help you get in shape for your own bodybuilding contests, your own endeavours, your own sports that you might be taking part in as well. So please reach out to us if you think that we can help you. So here's the overview. These are the sort of things that we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about genetic variability, what high performance approach is and the factors you need to consider, why these variables matter, and then obviously how can you put these things into your own training programs yourself. Okay, so first off, I just want to talk about genetic variability, and that first question right at the start there, where it was about what is it that make elite athletes special? Well, very often is they've got great genetics. They really, really do. And when we talk about genetics in bodybuilding, we're often talking about muscle size, how good their muscle size is, and also their skeletal structure and their insertions and things like this. And just because someone's got great genetics in one area doesn't mean necessarily always have the total package of great genetics in other areas, but definitely it certainly helps them to have some of these great genetics for things like muscle building or fat loss, for example, if they've not got everything. And this is a really interesting study here, and it just sort of displays that genetic variability really nicely. This is a 12-week study. You can see we've got on here 12 weeks of resistance training. It's bicep curls. That's what CSA stands for. Cross-sectional area is the overall muscle size. These are the percentage of the subjects, all 585 of them, that improved their muscle size to a certain degree. And you can see most people on average pull around this sort of middle section. You then have average bodybuilders up here on the other end, and then elite bodybuilders, I would say, at this end. So if you're to take any sort of population of people, what you sort of generally see is your average person is going to get about a response like this to exercise, about a 20% increase in muscle size over 20 weeks of bicep curls. Over here, around about 40% of the population are going to get that, or rather 40% of or rather it's going to be a 40% increase in muscle size, and roughly about less than 5% of the population. So these are people that go on and actually become bodybuilders, because you typically go and do bodybuilding because you're good at it, you get a response, and you build muscle mass. However, right up at the far end, you've got your elites. You've got people that get really high responses to training. You can see that's less than 1% of the subjects in this total population actually get an increase of 55%. Similar data here, this is strength improvements, and again it's even more dramatic. You've got your average person makes a 20% to 30% increase in strength. Some people though, probably your bodybuilders, up to about 150% increase, and then your elites up at 220%. And obviously you can imagine this overlaid onto a strength trained population. So you've got some people really average, you've got the people that do really well in response to their training, and they go on and become bodybuilders probably, so that's most bodybuilders, and then you've got within that the creme de la creme, the elites after that, and any sort of population really. So when we talk about genetics, there is this principle of individuality. Response varies depending on individuals. You get low responders, you get high responders with any sort of training program. The genetics are the things that contribute to that response. So this is a microRNA expression. So this is lean body mass changes in individuals. So you can see that some people, the high responders in this population, gained 4 kilograms of lean body mass. The low responders only gained 1 kilogram of lean body mass in here. And this is directly related to that genetic expression of those microRNA. So it's all taking place at that genetic individual. Now that doesn't mean that these people down here can't respond. Maybe they need a different training program or a different approach to get the same response on this. And like I said before, maybe in terms of a cardiovascular element, these people might respond even better to these people. Who knows? It depends who's won the genetic lottery, if you like. So huge amounts of variability, and this is what we see. So this is the bell curve. You'll all be familiar with this sort of stuff, I'm sure, if you're into reading evidence-based communications. But you've got your elite right up at this end. You've got your average bodybuilder probably somewhere around here, and then roughly around about, say, 68% of the population kind of fall within here in their ability to build muscle mass, progress, gain strength, etc. So bodybuilders are already elite, and then you get elite within elite from there. However, my experience, and here's Patricia Beckman, here's Kendall, I've forgotten Kendall's second name, WNBF world champions, absolutely phenomenal bodybuilders, and the both of them very, very good on this. My experience of bodybuilders though down years is most don't take a high performance approach to bodybuilding or sport in general. Most really just follow basic diets, basic training splits, and they really often just rely on great genetics and they work really, really hard. So their diets are good enough, their training's good enough, but they've got these great genetics and they're just working really, really hard. And I think we're all familiar with this this great expression, which is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. You do get people that have got these great genetics that don't train that hard, but believe me, these people are working really, really hard. It's from there. But maybe you can outwork these people as well. Maybe they're not working hard enough. So it's really all about taking this evidence-based approach. So again, most bodybuilders that I've encountered throughout my 20 years in bodybuilding, they train in bodybuilding gyms around the country, and they often rely on this spit and sawdust approach of shouting at each other and just working really, really hard and following these really hardcore approaches on it. Very rarely do you encounter the person, the thinking man's bodybuilder that's maybe thinking about more variables and just simply training and eating protein from here. Gifted athletes, they're always going to exist, and you'll have to compete against them. You'll compete against them in every single bodybuilding show or every single sporting event that you do. They're good at these things. That's why they've gravitated to doing it. But if you take a high performance approach, that can give you an edge and it can help you beat them. Maybe not in the first ever competition you do against them, but over the years, if you continue to take this high performance approach, you can overtake them in time. Okay, so high performance sport. This is my experience of high performance sport, as I say. So I'm fortunate enough that I've worked with professional rugby teams, so the Glasgow Warriors, and that is the Scotland international rugby players. So these guys here, you can see them at Twickenham here playing, or maybe it's Murrayfield, playing the England rugby team. So these guys are professional athletes, and they take a really professional approach to absolutely everything that they do. So we're measuring everything, we're taking samples, where we're going from there. I've also been fortunate to work with the English Institute of Sport, with the professional boxers there at that sport. So this is Scotland v England, I think, actually, on this particular occasion. So we were fortunate enough to work with these guys as well. And then I've also worked with several guys who competed at the Britain's Strongest Man and the Giants Live as well. So I've got that experience of being in that high performance environment and working with these athletes beyond just simply working with my own bodybuilding clients. And because I've been fortunate enough to publish paper and be in labs and take samples, we've got that sort of really evidence-based approach that we always take to training and to sport. Not a lot of people sort of realise what a schedule is of a professional athlete and how much these guys are actually doing. And right at the start, I asked the question again, what is high performance sport? This sort of gives you an idea. So you can see here, this is the schedule that these guys are keeping, Monday through to Sunday. These guys are training 4 times a day. So you can see this is 2 rugby sessions. This is a strength conditioning session. This is another rugby session. This is a team meeting. This is another strength conditioning session where it says pool. That is a swimming pool going in on here. This is off-feet conditioning as well. And you can see they're doing that multiple times a day. There's also interspersed within here physio. There's data analytics going on. There's meetings with the psychologist. There's meetings with the nutritionist. There's analysis meetings with the team doctor, the physio. There's stuff going on with the head coach. And this is, you can see it's a full-time job. These guys are doing this all the time. And then they're playing a game at the weekend. So just to sort of break it down for you, in terms of a professional rugby team, these guys are paid a good salary. £250,000 per annum is what these guys are getting for playing rugby, and they're well looked after. So these guys would be doing 4 training sessions a day and a physio session. Rugby twice a day, strength conditioning twice a day. Then they'll be doing some sort of swimming, Pilates or yoga as well at the same time. They're doing data analytics, they've got referee meetings, they've got a psychologist, they've got a nutritionist, they're getting some sort of assessment, and the actual team itself is employing a head coach, attacking coaches, defensive coaches, strength conditionists, physiotherapists, data analysts, team doctors. There's all these things going on to contribute towards this high performance athlete. So the sort of first thing that we need to sort of bear in mind with the high performance approach is it's all encompassing. And when I was talking earlier on about the bodybuilding approach, most just focus on training hard and eating. And that's ultimately it. There's very little thought goes into very often some of these other little aspects or large aspects, I should say, that go to making the complete athlete. And very often you see quotes that bodybuilding is 90% or 80% nutrition. And I would kind of sort of flip that paradigm and say that, okay, well, it's not that. It's really needs to be broken up down. And it needs to be broken into these different elements. It's maybe 15% flexibility, mobility, rehab and prehab. 20% nutrition, hydration, supplementation. Another 15% psychology, sports psychology, social support. That gives us our 50%. We've got another 30% of training, periodization, everything like that. And then the final 20% is definitely going to be at least data analytics, progress monitoring, recovery, recuperation, and resting. So it's a much more full, encompassing, holistic approach to bodybuilding when we're just focusing on this element and this element here. So elite athletes, what they really aim to do is they aim to try and progress in every single area that influences their performance. That's what they do. And you can see this nice radar plot here that we've got. They try to get better at all these different elements year on year. So we've got year 1, year 2, year 3, and you can see how the athlete progresses. And as the athlete progresses in all these different elements, how they can go on and become that higher quality athlete. So for me, myself, it was always about, can I improve my presentation from when I started? Can I get better at presenting as a bodybuilder? Can I improve my strength? That was going to affect my muscle mass. Am I recording my strength gains and my muscle mass gains by taking account of things like measurements and so on? Can I at the same time improve my power to impact my strength, to influence my muscle mass? Where am I at with my sports psychology? Am I tuned in enough to every single training session that's going on? How's my flexibility? Is my flexibility good enough? Am I recovering enough as well with my prehab? And then is my nutrition helping me recuperate enough at the same time? So all of these aspects, that whole holistic approach, really make a difference when it comes to being the best athlete you possibly can be. And that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about a high performance approach. This is the high performance approach. So there's different elements here, and I'm going to fleetingly touch on many of these different things on here. But sports psychology is all encompassing. As Bruce Lee says, there's no weapon more deadly than the will, and he's really talking about the power of the mind to get you to where you want to be. We need to have smart goals set. We need coping strategies, resilience. We need to be able to psych ourselves up, positive self-talk. We need to psych ourselves down and relax. We need to be able to control our emotions as well. And we need to plan. And that's that aspect of sports psychology. We need to be sitting and asking ourselves right now, how well are we doing in that aspect? Do we take this seriously at all? Flexibility, injury, mobility, rehab. So as I mentioned before, if we're more flexible, we're less likely to get hurt, we're less likely to get injured, we can pose better. But are we taking this particular element of our performance seriously? Are we wearing strapping when we need to? Are we taking rest when we need to? Are we doing the exercises that no one enjoys doing, but they really contribute to our performance in the long run? Are we getting regular work done on sports massage and strapping and ice and things like that to stop these little aches and pains and niggles turning into full-blown injuries? And I think one of the best quotes I've ever heard on this sort of subject, and I don't know where it comes from, but the best way to solve a problem is not to have one in the first place. And that's really what doing this element helps you deal with. It's looking after your physique. Remember, it's the only one you've got. So you really need to consider, are you making time for these different aspects within your performance? You've seen the schedule that the Glasgow guys had, 4 times a day plus physio in there. That's what they're doing in terms of training. Data analytics. If you're not recording stuff, then you're really just, it's a shot in the dark as to know if you're making progress or not. I thought this was a nice quote from business, and I think you can apply it to anything. And this quote here, I got it from a data analytics website, so you can imagine it's a little bit skewed, but they're saying that most decisions are made really on intuitiveness, rather than really getting made on the data at the end of the day. And they're saying that data-driven companies make much more money. It's because they're not acting emotionally at the end of the day. So you have to collect data. If you're not collecting data, then you're really just guessing at the end of the day and going on instinct. And sometimes when you just go on instinct, you make emotional decisions, you make the wrong decisions, and that can contribute towards you going in the wrong direction and wasting time. So having the data is important, and having the data year on year. So you have to track everything that makes a difference at the end of the day. Your training, your sleep, if it matters to you, your steps, your eating, your calories, your training sessions, your body fat levels. You need to track all these things, and it's not just data in terms of numbers. You need photographs, you need videos of performance so you can go back, analyze it, and then see where you can improve. usually with someone else to give you a keen eye as well. And you need to get good data, which is consistent, because junk data, e.g. things like taking measurements always at different places when you're trying to measure a bicep, or taking photographs in different spots, doesn't allow you to make decent comparisons. Recovery matters, and when I talk about recovery, I'm not just talking about days off. I'm talking about things like deloading. I'm talking about making sure that you're icing things. I'm talking about taking rest days. I'm talking about going on holidays, saunas, hot and cold therapy. All of these things have to factor into your performance as well. You grow when you're not in the gym. You grow when you're sleeping. You grow when you're resting. When you're in the gym, you're causing damage. You need to be able to recover from it. And one of the major things that I often see in bodybuilders is these guys will train 6-7 days a week and have no days off. And believe me, as soon as you take a guy like that and you move him down to 4 days, normally he gets great improvements in strength and great improvements in muscle mass just from that rest, that little bit of extra recovery. Myself, I'm a 4-day per week trainer. I take a day off in the middle of the week and a couple of days off the weekend. That allows me to maximize my performance as best I can. Training 3D, obviously we can manipulate frequency with intensity, but still 4 days a week is really the sweet spot for myself. Genetics differ. There is things like max recoverable volume. Nutrition. This is something that I left later on in this little presentation because most people kind of get this. They understand it. They tend to eat. And bodybuilders are very good at taking their supplements. They get them in. Most are good at meal prepping. But the things where we often need to improve at with bodybuilding is variety. So a lot of bodybuilders, for ease, they eat the same things all the time. And that's okay because you able to stick to a plan that has its own advantages. However, having a little bit more variety gives us the ability to consume more micronutrients, higher quality nutrition, having a broader range of foods. Plus, all of these things, bodybuilders are notorious for not consuming fruit and vegetables, contain lots of polyphenolic compounds, useful molecules like antioxidants, which will help you recover, which will help you grow as well. So it's important that you get the variety right within the diet as well, and that we're not always eating the same things all the time, and that we try and make an allowance for having other stuff as well. And there's a sociological aspect here. Food's important, so we have to be able to take time off as well at the same time. Supplements wise, most people chase junk supplements. I would encourage them to try and chase variety in the diet over the junk supplements. At the end of the day, much more cost effective. Most supplements will have less than a 0.5% improvement in performance, and the day-to-day variability we just see in people's performance is around about 3%. So most supplements cannot overcome that difference. Hydration, we've got to make sure that we focus on that as well. And then keeping our body fat levels in check. That's what this graphic refers to on here. That can really make a difference for your performance. It depends how serious you want to be, but if you want to be high level and elite, then you'll stand a better chance of keeping yourself around about that 12% body fat if you're a guy, 20% body fat if you're a woman, in the off season, rather than letting your weight balloon back up and having to chase a lot of weight loss from there. Context important, of course. Again, training. Most people tend to get this. What I will say is there's no such thing as the perfect program. We need to train the whole body and not neglect smaller muscle groups that we don't enjoy training. We have to get obsessed with form. So we've got to squat ass to grass or get our knees all the way down when we're doing our leg press, and not compromise on form. So if you're compromising on form, the only person you're cheating is really yourself at the end of the day by doing a lesser exercise. We need to periodize. You've got to do different types of training programs at different times of the year. We've got to strength train. We've got to do 4-day splits. We've got to do 5-day splits. We've got to do 3-day splits. We've got to do upper lowers. We've got to do bro splits. We have to do them all, and we have to do different advanced training techniques. We're not going to follow the same program for the whole way through. So we have to remember this when we're training, and we've got to do exercises that often we don't want to do, and we've got to maximize performance in our 3, 5, 8, 10, 12, and 20 rep ranges. So we've got to hit all those aspects to be the complete athlete, to be able to perform when it comes to having the most muscle mass we can. And we've got to do cardio as well, guys. We've got to do cardio. Okay, so those were a quick whistle-stop tour through a high-performance approach to sport, yeah? And high performance means mastering all the variables which are going to influence your performance, yeah? You get better at these things over time, and the better you get at doing all those other things beyond just eating and training means you'll progress more as an athlete, and you'll be able to beat those elite athletes that are not ticking all those boxes from there. It takes time to implement this stuff. So you need to lay out your weekly pattern. You need to look where you've got space in the day and where you can fit stuff in. If you train in the gym 6 days a week, most of us have got full-time jobs. You've probably not got time to do some of this other stuff. Maybe you want to cut back and go 4 days a week with weights and spend those other 2 days, I don't know, one's a swim, one's a yoga class. Doing stuff like that allows you to implement those different elements of a high-performance approach. And you need the data to ensure your performance and your progress. Because if you're adding stuff in, you want to see if it works. And then if you take it out, you want to see how it affects you positively or negatively in this. And without the data, you just don't know what's working and what's not working. So data is important for a high-performance approach as well. Okay, that really concludes the presentation we've got here. We've got Arnold here doing the Thinker Pros. I've talked about a lot of things on there. We could do individual webinars, individual modules on each of those elements. But what you really need to think about now, finish this presentation, is where do you need to up your game? What needs to be worked on the most? What are you neglecting and you're missing out on? Are you really being an athlete? And do we need to formulate a plan so we can make improvements in that particular area? Talk to your coach about these things. Talk to me about these things. If you think we can help you, then again, please do get in touch. And maybe your coach has forgot about something. And listen, that's okay. We've got to juggle a lot of things ourselves, trying to help you. If you want to try a particular element out, or a supplement, or a training session, or a flexibility approach or something like that, then bring it with them, and they can put that plan together for you to help you out. And once again, thank you for your attention. I'm Dr. Andrew Chappell. And like I say, if you want to get in touch with me and you think that we can help you, then you can reach me here at ProPrepCoaching, Fuel by Scott's Oats, or on the www website as well, ProPrepCoaching.com. I also run the WNBF UK, and we'd love for you to compete as well in the future if you are a natural bodybuilder and you're serious about getting up on that stage. Thanks for your attention, and I hope you find this useful.